And good evening, everybody. Welcome to San Francisco. 3Com Park is the scene, located on Candlestick Point and beautiful San Francisco Bay, as the Broncos and 49ers get set to bang heads and wrap up the preseason. Once again with Dave Logan, I'm Tony Zarella. Our third and final preseason game here on 9 News. Great working with you. It's been a lot of fun.
I've enjoyed it.
Now, are these guys going to have some fun tonight? I know they're anxious to wrap this up.
No question about it, especially veteran players, starters. They want to get through tonight's game completely healthy. And then, of course, there are second and third team guys that want to get through tonight's game and make that last little impression on the coaching staff and hope that they're on the final 53-man roster.
We're going to talk about the cuts in just a moment. One guy who, I don't know how much we're going to see from Mark Schlereth tonight, but good to see him back out there coming off his 27th operation, 13th on the left knee alone. And, this recovery took a while, Dave.
I think there were some people that were worried, and I think Mark even himself was a bit worried, but he's going to play tonight, said he's feeling fine. He, if healthy, will start against St. Louis on Monday night. They do like what Lenny Friedman has done in Schlereth's absence, and what you have now is two very good left guards.
When you look at the receivers, it's going to be tough to pick and choose here for Mike Shanahan, and on the depth chart, can a guy like Robert Brooks move up with a performance tonight?
He had a couple of catches last week, and I think the interesting thing about Brooks, so far he's kept his legs. Sometimes for older players, and especially a guy who's been out of football for a year, you can come out 2 or 3 days in a row and feel good, and then all of a sudden you literally lose your legs. That's not the case with Robert Brooks, and if healthy, I think Robert Brooks will be a very, very good receiver for the Bronco team this year.
Well, one guy who would like to keep him from being the number 3 guy, obviously Travis McGriff. Do you like what you've seen with him, and are you surprised that he would be number 3 on the depth chart throughout camp?
I like what I've seen from him very much. He's got 13 receptions in the preseason, very quick into and out of breaks, has exceptional hands, and a guy that has fit in, and I think he and Brooks will battle for that third receiver spot on the regular season roster.
Well, by the end of the weekend, the Broncos, like every other team, have to be down to 53. The linebackers may provide the toughest choice of ball for Shanahan. Can both Gizzy and Steve Russ make this club?
I'd like to think so, but I doubt it. The two Air Force guys have had good camps. Russ, of course, has been on the active roster before. Unfortunately, you have the talent to play in this league sometimes. You don't always get to play where you want to. And I would doubt that both Steve Russ and Chris Gizzy will be on the active roster for Denver.
On the other side of the field, the 49ers coming off a horrible year. They won 4 games, their worst record in 20 years, and it could be worse this year.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to get things turned around. 32 rookies on this roster. Tough to win with young players in this league. And I would say that the fans here must realize that they may not get to 4 wins this year as they did last year.
Well, now you look at that situation, and I think a lot of people wonder why Jerry Rice, who's done it all, would still be playing.
Well, 1,206 catches. I mean, the guy is an amazing player, and he still feels like he can play. Jerry Rice in his 16th season has set virtually every record in NFL receiving books, and he's a guy that continues to be the leader of this team. I think one more year for Jerry Rice, and he'll step down.
Yeah, and I don't know how many reps tonight. We'll see. The Broncos and the 49ers about to kick it off here at 3Com. We'll have it for you when our coverage on 9 News continues. Both teams, Dave, happy to wrap up the preseason and move forward to the regular season.
Absolutely. As you take a look at the conditions here in San Francisco, it's been a beautiful day. 60 degrees, and as usual, the wind blowing, gusting to 30 miles per hour. Sparse crowd here tonight at 3Com Park, and that may be more the norm as the 49ers. We'll get into that as the broadcast opens up. But San Francisco looks like a team that will be very hard-pressed to do what they did last year, and that's win 4 games.
They've had so many changes, Dave, and the salary cap problems that really put them in the hole and could keep them in the hole for a few years now. It's tough for them to recover. They've got so many young guys, as you mentioned, 32 rookies on the roster. It's going to take a while.
Kevin Williams and Travis Jervey await the kick from Jason Elam, and the final preseason game of the 2000 campaign is underway. It's a very short kick, hits at the 8, and that is Williams on the run. Kevin Williams out to around the 29-yard line, where Detron Smith and Steve Russ, along with Mike Anderson, are there for the Broncos. That's a return of 24 yards, and San Francisco will have a 1st and 10 at that point. Jeff Garcia will be the quarterback. Rick Meyer, of course, also on this team, and he expects to see some playing time tonight. 1st and 10 from the 29. Rice is right, Owens left. And not much there on 1st down. That's Charlie Garner. Al Wilson on the stop for the Broncos. Garner last year. Take a look at some of the starters for the San Francisco club before we talk about Garner. Garner and Jackson in the backfield. Rice, Bell, and Owens.
And Bell gets the start over Greg Clark, the tight end. There's the offensive line: Brown, Fiore, Deese, Newberry, and Gregg. Only one starter missed any time last year for that offensive line. They led the National Football League in rushing. 2nd and 9 from the 30 as Garcia takes a short drop. Fires to the right side. Pass is going to be caught by Sean Bell and hit immediately by Al Wilson. I was going to talk a little bit about Charlie Garner. Tony, the guy that last year had 1,229 yards. Just a tremendous running back, and I don't think a lot of people know about this guy.
I know, and you remember his days with Philly as well. He's not a big guy. He's only 5'9", about 190 pounds, but he can get the job done. He's very quick, and you'll see him catch a lot of passes as well.
Of course, San Francisco has always thrown the ball to the backs. 3rd down for the 49ers. Ball at the San Francisco 35. That's Garner behind Garcia, who will throw. Slant pattern's going to be dropped at the 41-yard line. Nice coverage there by Jimmy Spencer, who got there about the same time the ball did. Pass intended for Terrell Owens, and San Francisco will punt it away.
And we'll see both Spencer, of course, and Terrell Buckley when they go to the nickel as they continue to fight it out for that cornerback spot. Don't read into the fact, again, that Buckley gets the start as he did a week ago as they continue to alternate. But Mike has a tough decision to make to pick the starter.
So Chad Stanley will punt it away for the 49ers. Broncos using 2 return men, Delta O'Neal and Terrell Buckley. Stanley gets a great kick. This will be O'Neal from the 17. The rookie made 1 miss, but Brian Jennings down to make the tackle after a 48-yard punt, and Denver will have a 1st down. Got a flag on the play. Referee tonight is Bill Carollo.
Ineligible on the kicking team, illegally downfield, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
So the 49ers penalized for having a man downfield. They'll have to kick it again.
This could be a long, long year for Steve Mariucci in so many ways. And we talk about the salary cap, not to drown you in numbers, but the league average of guys you're paying that aren't on your roster is about 3% the cap. The Niners, about 21% of their salary cap is going out to guys who aren't even on the team.
Mariucci, 29 and 19 in the regular season as a 49er coach. That number obviously will dissipate this year. Stanley, not a good kick. O'Neal has a bounce and hit his leg, and 49ers all over the football. Well, there's a rookie mistake. We haven't seen many from Delta O'Neal, the 1st-round draft choice. Now we wait to see the officials try to clear the pile, and the Broncos retain possession.
Well, you talk about a rookie mistake. Delta looked fabulous a week ago against the Cowboys, but that just kind of came up and short-hopped him and really didn't know how to react to that.
I'll tell you what, to his credit, he got in the pile and got that football back.
He might be a little overexcited tonight, back in his hometown. Played at Cal, as you know. A lot of family and friends here and expecting big things. I think he could bust one tonight. I think he's really just starting to come into that comfort level.
So the Broncos take over. 1st opportunity for Brian Griese and the starters. We expect to see them between 10 to 15 plays. 1st and 10 from the Denver 43. Griese will throw. He's got Dwayne Carswell, who backs his way into 49er territory, loses the football, but I think they're going to say he was down. Tackle on the play by Junior Bryant. Let's take a look at the Bronco offense. Brian Griese, who has had a very good preseason at quarterback, 3rd-year starter out of the University of Michigan. In the backfield, 2 names that have become quite familiar. Terrell Davis, of course, and Howard Griffith. Smith and McCaffrey, the 2 wideouts. Dwayne Carswell fought off 3 challengers, and he is the starting tight end. Mark Schlereth, his first action of the preseason, and Dan Neal, the other guard. Jones and Lepsis at tackle, and the Pro Bowler Tom Nalen is at center. 2nd and call it 3 from midfield, with McCaffrey and Smith to the left side. Griese will play fake and look deep. Pass to McCaffrey is going to be caught. Eddie McCaffrey inside the 49er 35-yard line will have a Denver 1st down, hit there by Monty Montgomery. And Tony, we're talking about the 49er defense. A lot of young faces, especially in the secondary.
Well, especially at cornerback. They went through 7 different guys last year as they tried to find the right combination at cornerback. And, you know, Monty's going to be one of the starters back there, but they continue to shuffle guys in and out, and he's not their A guy. Broncos could pick on him a lot tonight.
McCaffrey's 7th catch of the preseason. 1st down, Denver. There's Terrell Davis's first carry, and Terrell, with some nifty running, should have another Denver first down. Hit there by Lance Schulters, the Pro Bowl safety for the 49ers, but Terrell Davis showing some great moves early.
Yeah, sweet move for Terrell. He doesn't know how many reps he's going to get tonight, but that was a nice cutback and beautiful gain.
Gain of 11 for Terrell Davis as you take a look at the 49er defense. Strong up front with Bryant and Young. McGrew was a second-round draft choice last year. Posey and Tubbs, the two outside linebackers. Thomas, Plummer, Schultz, Prelu, and Montgomery in the secondary. A very, very young secondary. Davis again is on the loose. Terrell Davis bounced out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. We'll have another Bronco first down hit by Ahmed Plummer, who the 49ers took out of Ohio State this year in the first round.
Well, we're going to see a lot of Ahmed Plummer tonight. We'll talk about him later, but that's got to make any Bronco fan happy. I mean, that's the second straight play that Terrell has cut back like that. He looks great.
Consecutive carries for Davis of 11 and 13 yards, and Denver will have a first and goal at the 49er 8. Mike Shanahan said last night if his club moved the football a lot in the opening series, the starters might not see any more action. Looks like they got the message. Davis breaks a tackle. Terrell Davis to the goal line. That is a Denver touchdown. Well, they made it look easy against the 49er defense. And the Broncos on the board first here at 3Com Park.
And credit the offensive line. You mentioned the Niners have a lot of problems, but up front, they're not bad. Howard with a nice block leading the way, but the hole there, Terrell just trots in. And that he may not get many more reps after that. They made that look pretty easy.
5-play, 57-yard drive. Denver takes the football right down the field. Jason Elam, who's been perfect this preseason with the extra point try, it is up and good. And with less than 4 minutes gone here in the first quarter, the Broncos on their opening possession have taken a 7-0 lead. Park, Dave Logan, Tony Zarella with you as the Broncos on a 5-play, 57-yard drive have taken a 7-0 lead.
And talking about the Broncos offensive line, watch Tony Jones just stands up Junior Bryant to create that hole. Carswell wasn't bad either, but Tony Jones with a sweet block on that play did.
San Francisco had all sorts of problems last year defensively. They were dead last in the NFL in terms of pass defense. They actually did a pretty good job up front against the run. You can look at that a couple of ways. Either teams were throwing the ball all the time, or maybe as the 49ers would care to look at it, they were decent against the run. Elam for the second time, and a second short kick fielded by Williams on the run. Kevin Williams running out of places to go and knocked out of bounds by Chris Watson shy of the 25-yard line.
Watson, a guy we talked about in the opening of the telecast, trying to fight his way onto this team, and a guy that, Dave, you haven't written off yet. He still has a shot to make this club.
I think Chris Watson has an excellent chance, no question about it. 10:53 to go here in the opening quarter. Broncos lead the Niners 7-0. San Francisco 49ers have it for their second opportunity. Jeff Garcia, who figures to be the starter this year. He finished the season as a starter, actually the last 10 games. Take a look at his preseason numbers. 13 of 15 in the last couple of preseason games for 141 yards. This is Charlie Garner. And Garner, with a nice bit of running, picks up close to 8 yards, knocked out of bounds by Glenn Cadres.
One of the things that Garner does so well, he's so quick. He can just burst through that hole. He's so explosive, but he reads the block so well. You're going to see him come in here. They get a couple of nice blocks. Buckley gets picked right there by one of the linemen pulling. And Garner reading it very quickly before Cadres can get to him and knock him out.
Garner last year averaging 5 yards per carry. He was second in the National Football League for backs with over 200 carries. That's a lot of yards by a smaller back. Here he is again, not much there, maybe a yard shy of the first down. Hit by Keith Traylor.
Romanowski making friends and influencing people immediately. His former team, the 49ers, of course.
I don't think Romo will change the way he plays. Even with what's happened, I suspect Bill Romanowski will always be a guy that goes out, plays hard, instigates at times, and just tries to get under the skin of every opposing player.
I don't think he should change the way that he plays.
49ers would like to change this scenario. Second time they've had third down in the opening quarter. They failed to convert the first time. Here's Garner, and I don't think he's got this one. It will depend on the spot Trevor Price, Romanowski, Al Wilson, along with Glenn Cadrez, all getting up off the pile. Eric Brown there as well, and this will depend on where the ball is spotted, but I would think he's going to be short.
I thought he was short. Great job by the guys up front to stand him up straight. He had nowhere to go. As soon as he got the football, there was nowhere to go.
We talked a little bit about Jeff Garcia, 2,554 yards, 11 touchdowns last year.
Romanowski is yelling at somebody on the 49ers, one of the offensive linemen, I think. It's gone on for 2 plays, and he's still yelling at him.
Dinner plans, I'm certain.
I don't know, man. I think we're going to see this again.
That's Sean Bell, the backup tight end, blocking on Bill Romanowski.
Well, I think Bell came back and maybe spared him in the back after Roma went into the pile. But this started at least on the play before that.
So the Niners short again on 3rd down, and Chad Stanley for the 2nd time will kick it away. Denver this time with only Delta O'Neal set to return. It is a very short kick. Takes a 49er bounce inside the Bronco 40-yard line. That is a punt of only 33 yards, and Denver will have their 2nd opportunity when we return to 3Com Park here in beautiful San Francisco. 9:24 left in the 1st quarter. Broncos lead Dante, Casey Jones, Schlereth, and Trey Teague up front for Denver. McGriff and Brooks at wide receiver. Desmond Clark, the tight end. Detron Smith and Karan Coleman behind Gus Farad. 1st and 10 Denver at the 36, their 2nd offensive possession. Screen. This is McGriff with room. Closed nicely. Junior Bryant was there. Excuse me, Bryant Young and Junior Bryant, the 2 inside tackles for the 49ers.
Well, they let Gus come out throwing. Gus, I don't know if he was frustrated by the lack of a battle for the quarterback spot. I think he kind of felt early in camp that there really was no battle, and it was going to go to Brian Greasy, but he kept his attitude up, and that's nice that they let him come out throwing. And we're going to see some things now from McGriff. Brooks as they battle for the 3 spot.
Gain of 6, 2nd and 4 as McGriff comes in motion. This is Landis Gary in the game for the first time, and Gary swarmed under by a pack of 49ers led by Winfred Tubbs, the 8th-year player out of Texas.
Tubbs, one of the many Niners who's been battling injuries. For Tubbs, it's been a hamstring. For this team, and you know, as a fan, you'd look at the 49ers and not recognize half of these guys, and the ones you do recognize, like a Ken Norton, aren't out there because of the injuries. They are battered and bruised, to say the least, and the season hasn't even started yet. Again, just one more reason why it's going to be a long year for these guys.
3rd and 2 from the 44 now as the Broncos try to keep this thing rolling. This is Gary. Gary squirts through the first tackler out to about the 48-yard line, and he'll have a Denver 1st down. Landis Gary, who's had a very good preseason, averaging over 4 yards per carry, 34 carries for 148 yards. Hit by Lance Schulters. Actually, Schulters missed him, and Pearson Prelu, excuse me, the other safety up to make the tackle.
Prelu, another versatile guy for the Niners who has moved around a little bit. He used to be a cornerback, one of the guys they tried. Now he's back at the safety spot.
1st down from the 48, and Farad will throw. Pressure and sacked. And that is Bryant Young. Young, who had 11 sacks last year. Of course, that terrible leg injury back in November of '98 suffered on a Monday night against the New York Giants. One of the things I'm sure Bryant Young would like to forget, but what a nice swim move here.
Yeah, great move. He is a player. He's a Pro Bowl player. He came all the way back from that gruesome injury that you talk about. And, you know, on the defensive side of the ball, he's one of 2 or 3 guys that is still a quality player for the 49ers. He still gets it done. And I think a lot of people are rooting for him to come back, and he has come back from it.
He had surgery in February this year to take the titanium rod out of his leg. It had already fused to the bone, and they couldn't take it out. 2nd and 17, Farad with time to throw. Dump throw in the middle, Landis Gary with the catch and the fumble. And the Niners have the football. Gary with the reception. He was hit. The ball was free. And I think Winfred Tubbs, or maybe Monty Montgomery, makes the recovery as San Francisco has possession into Denver territory.
Monty Montgomery comes away with it. That's one of the few things that Landis Gary has done wrong in this preseason. He's had a great preseason.
So the 49ers in Denver territory after the Alandis Gary fumble, and you can take a look at it, Tony. He gets a pretty good sock.
Well, Tubbs gets the first shot on him, but it's actually Edward Thomas that strips Alandis of the football. It's a little dump-off pass, and now, you know, as I mentioned, that's one of the few things that Alandis has had gone wrong for him in this preseason.
Jeff Garcia continues at quarterback, and he is on the boot, looking upfield, complete. That is Terry Jackson, up to about the 42-yard line, hit by Glenn Codres. Terry Jackson is called by Steve Mariucci a tweener. He's played running back. Now at fullback, he had to gain about 15 pounds in the offseason.
Yeah.
Second-year player out of the University of Florida.
Well, he's their Mike Anderson, if you will. You know, he can play running back. He can play fullback. He's great on the special teams. They're the exact same size.
2nd and 5 now as San Francisco looks to get on the board. Garcia looking for Rice a little bit too far. Jerry Rice had Ray Crockett step for step. The ball about 3 or 4 yards too far, and Jerry Rice with a penalty flag thrown. Looks like he's asking that official to call it on Crockett.
Thinks he got held back there. They like this Rice guy. We should say that right away. They're expecting big things out of him.
5-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
So holding against Crockett. Jerry Rice, 209 consecutive games with at least 1 catch. A guy that Mike Shanahan said is one of the hardest working players he's ever coached. But Rice just continues to amaze.
He's just incredible, obviously. You know, he's 12 Pro Bowls, 14 NFL records.
1,206 receptions for over 18,000 yards. You never like to say never will records be broken, but that's got him pretty close to never. Slant pattern a little bit too high for Terrell Owens. Incomplete. Terrell Buckley there for the Broncos.
Well, he should have caught that one. I'll tell you what, Terrell Owens is a guy that has to step up this year. A lot of people felt after he signed that $34 million deal going into last year that he underachieved. A little bit overthrown, but you can make that catch.
I'll tell you what, you got to make that catch if you're going to be a great player in the league, and that's what a 7-year, $34 million contract says. You are a great player in the league. And he underachieved, but he had 60 catches last year, but still.
They expect a little more for their $34 million.
2nd and 10 at the 37 now. For the first time, Garcia will be in the shotgun. Handoff, Garner with room. Oh, nice tackle by Ray Crockett. Charlie Garner looked like he had significant running room, and all of a sudden, Ray Crockett came out of nowhere, and Garner knocked down at about the 33-yard line. It'll be 3rd down.
Yeah, Al Wilson just a little bit pumped about that, but great play by Crockett. You see how fast Garner explodes, and if Crockett doesn't make that play 35 yards later, the Niners are on the board. Wilson just missed him. But a nice play by Crockett.
5:37 to go in the first quarter. Broncos have a 7-0 lead. 3rd and 7 for San Francisco. Garcia with Trevor Price all over him will be sacked at the 40-yard line. And there's the Bronco Pro Bowler who had a sack last week, his first tonight. And a guy that I know the Denver coaching staff is thrilled to have in camp and in the middle of that Bronco defense.
No question. Look how it just makes it look easy. Just makes it look easy. He blows right by Scott Craig, the offensive tackle, the right tackle, and Trevor Price, you know, despite missing the first couple of weeks of camp, you know, you knew when he came in, he said he wasn't in football shape, but he was still in shape, and it didn't take him long to get into football shape.
So Chad Stanley will punt for the 3rd time. He'll try to pin the Broncos inside the 20. O'Neal with a fair catch at about the 20. Delta O'Neal averaging 6 yards per punt return in the preseason. That number obviously will go up in the regular season.
To go just under 5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Broncos up by a touchdown. Just a reminder, throughout the season, our complete coverage of the Broncos continues on Monday nights. The Broncos Huddle with Mike Shanahan, Dave Logan, and I, of course, with the coach every Monday night at 6:30. This year down south a little bit in the Tech Center, Jackson's home. Jackson's All-American Sports Grill, actually, on Bellevue in Yosemite, the Broncos Huddle.
Doesn't it always seem like it's an easier show when they win? Probably just a coincidence.
Slightly.
1st and 10 Denver. Gus Frerott's 2nd series. He'll throw. Pass is going to be well beyond Robert Brooks.
Brooks, of course, trying to move up on the depth chart. He's certainly not in danger of not making this club as they get down to 53 sometime this weekend, likely tomorrow. And a lot of people believe Naturally, that Mike's mind is already made up on different things, but the question is, can Brooks, with a performance tonight, step up a little bit and challenge Travis for that 3 spot?
2nd and 10 from the 20. The offset eye behind Gus Farrar. This is Atlantis Geary running left. Runs through the tackle of Winfred Tubbs. Hit down shy of the 25. Tackled by Brinston Buckner, the former Pittsburgh Steeler in his 7th year out of Clemson.
Yeah, Buckner's had his moments in this league, and I'll tell you what, give the Niners defensive front credit. I know the Broncos have gone to their 2nd offensive line, but a decent job here. The Niners just stuffing the run repeatedly. We've seen the Broncos offensive line, even the 2nd team, push people around throughout this preseason. Niners aren't doing a bad job.
I'll tell you what, they got everybody blocked there except the Mike linebacker. 3rd and 6. Farrar hit before he can throw the football. Hit from the blind side, and that was Monty Montgomery, the 4th-year corner out of Houston. He broke his arm last year in the 5th game and was on injured reserve, and Montgomery comes clean.
Yeah, obviously Farrar never saw him coming on the backside, but nobody saw him on the blitz. And just nails him.
So Denver on consecutive possessions fumbles the football away and goes 3 and out. First punt for Tom Room. Kevin Williams back for the Niners. From the 33. Williams looking for a place to get down, finds one outside the San Francisco 37-yard line, and that's where the Niners will take over 1st and 10. Good tackle there, or at least coverage, by Detron Smith. And I think we've got a penalty flag on the play.
Ineligible player on the kicking team, illegally downfield, 52. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Ineligible man downfield. We're having trouble with the referee's mic, but I think it may have been Ian Gold.
Well, he started off strong, and now the fear, obviously, is a game like this, as you get a lot of different guys coming in and getting reps, could drag out a little bit, get a little ugly. Broncos really don't want to see that. They want to keep everybody healthy, head home, make the decisions, and not turn this into a 4-hour marathon.
Tommy Ruin averaging 44.5 yards per kick in the preseason. Coming off a great year last year. Didn't get all of this one. Williams should have room to run. Coghill was there first. Steve Russ, the second one, along with Detron Smith. And San Francisco, for the 2nd straight time, will have a possession starting in Bronco territory at the Denver 45-yard line. That's a punt of 39 yards. And give Williams 4 on the return. We take a look at Steve Mariucci again. We told you his record. Mariucci, the 13th San Francisco head coach. He won his first 18 games here at 3Com Park. Nice way to break in the National Football League. He must have thought it was going to be that easy forever. Garcia on the roll on 1st down. Fires in the flat. That's Jerry Rice. Crockett and Cadreas for the Broncos, and Rice with a pickup of about 5.
You know, in fairness to Jeff Garcia, you talked about him at the top of the show, but Garcia kind of got thrown into the fire last year. Steve Young goes down, and Garcia had not taken a lot of reps. I mean, Jerry Rice could do this all day. You got to stay back on Rice a little bit, but you know, he comes in and replaces a guy like Steve Young. They went through the tough year. He was under fire a lot, and I think a lot of people were betting against him to win the starting job in camp this year.
Rice and Stokes left, Owens right, 2nd, and let's call it 7. Garner with a lot of room. Some nifty moves from Charlie Garner. Still on his feet. Garner is inside the 20 and inside the 15. Charlie Garner with a run of 27 yards and the deepest penetration thus far for San Francisco.
Yeah, tremendous run. I mean, already in less than 1 quarter, you've seen why they like Charlie Garner and why they can still run the football despite their many problems. Right up the gut there. Broncos had more than a few shots at him, but he's so quick. The straight arm there on Jenkins to gain about another 15 yards off that play.
Garner, as we told you, not the biggest guy in the world, 5'9", 187 pounds, a 7th-year running back out of Tennessee.
Well, you know,
Jerry Rice working downfield a bit.
Just trying to shield Crockett, but really that Garner helps himself out. He's got another 20 yards after that.
And San Francisco will take a timeout.
So the Broncos defense for the first time back on its heels a little bit. The Niners driving. Just a reminder, the 2000 Summer Olympic Games just around the corner. 9 News and NBC are your home for all Olympic coverage. You can catch all of the live daily coverage along with the festivities and the spirit of the Olympic Games direct from Sydney right here on 9 News. Jim Benneman, our 9 News anchor, heading down under for about a month. He'll be reporting live from Sydney and of course in Colorado. A few reasons to have high interest. Amy Van Dyke and Antonio McDyess, of course, playing on Team USA.
1st and 10 San Francisco at the Bronco 15. Stokes out of the backfield in motion. Garcia sets up the screen and airmails one over Charlie Garner's head, incomplete. Garner upset because he had 2 or 3 offensive linemen in front and only Al Wilson of the Broncos to contend.
Well, nice job by Trevor up front, putting the pressure on, and Garcia throwing this one away. Not going to let Price get his 2nd sack of the night in the 1st quarter.
Better throw there, and San Francisco's got a big play. 2nd and 10 with 2:20 to go here in the 1st quarter. Denver took the opening possession, went 5 plays, 57 yards. Terrell Davis with the touchdown, and that's where we stand. Garner left side, and a hustling Keith Traylor from behind on the tackle.
That's a great job by Traylor coming down the line. Such a big guy, and he can move so quickly, and he makes that play.
Of course, San Francisco looking for points. Last year, the first time since 1978 that the 49ers failed to score 300 points in a season. You take a look at what they've done on 3rd downs. 3rd and 8 from the 13. Garcia rifles one low into the end zone, incomplete. He had the tight end, Sean Bell. Now Wilson with pretty good coverage, and San Francisco must try a field goal.
Nice job by Al in the middle. Garcia had nowhere to throw this football. He had Rice in the right corner of the end zone, but he was covered, and nice job by Al there that Garcia had to throw it so low. No way they make the play on that.
Ball a little bit low, but I'll tell you this.
Actually, yeah, he might have had a shot at that.
That's a catchable ball, too. Easy for us to say up here.
Yeah, boy, Michael.
Wade Ritchie from just past the 20-yard line, an attempt of 30 yards. And it splits the uprights, and San Francisco on the board with 1:36 to go here in the 1st quarter. They trail the Broncos 7-3. So again, we saw Dallas last week have 2 long drives, one of 73 yards, one of 64, but both times the Denver defense forced the Cowboys to kick a field goal.
Yeah, a case of bending and not breaking, and I think Mike a little bit happier in this one starting out than he had been through the first 3 preseason games. You know, I mean, we saw the defense in the first couple of games back on its heels, and then last week, even though the Cowboys didn't punch it in, they were driving down the field.
Take a look there since '96, some of the best records in football. Jacksonville and the Broncos, along with Green Bay, atop the board. San Francisco up there as well, but 4-12 last year, and probably not much better, if any, this year.
Yeah, this is like the old Sesame Street. Which one of these things just doesn't belong this year? I don't know that you're going to see the Niners up there with the top 4 teams.
So Deltha O'Neal, who last week had a terrific kickoff return of 58 yards against Dallas. He's averaging 27 yards per kickoff return in the preseason. We heard prior to the draft, or actually after the draft, that Deltha O'Neal had a chance to be one of the truly special return men at this level. We saw glimpses of that last week. And here we go again. Oh, my. Had a kept going after about the third juke. He might have been able to run toward the 49er bench. Maybe one too many there, and Travis Jervey down to make the tackle for San Francisco. Return of 27 yards.
I agree with you. And if he keeps coming toward us on this play instead of cutting back, he might go. He might go 70 more yards. But just great recovery there. He's so athletic. He's a special player. Right here, he keeps coming toward us right there, and I think he can bust it.
So 1st and 10, the Broncos start this drive on their 31 with 80 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. Gary runs into Davis, Diaz, and Fonte, who knocks the Denver running back down at about the 33-yard line, gain of a couple. Gary Edward Thomas on the tackle.
Gary doing what he does consistently, which is try to throw some of his own spin moves in there and make something happen. Just a bruising runner. Not a big guy, but he can bruise him.
49ers now getting some new faces in defensively. Both Bryant Young and Junior Bryant out of the game. Call it a gain of 2 for Landis, 2nd and 8. Farad, quick throw. Clark with a nice catch, spun down at about the 37-yard line. Tackle there by John Keith, a rookie out of Furman. We talked, Tony, about the rookies. 32 rookies on this 49er roster at this time of training camp. That's an amazing number.
But and what they tried to do, they knew they were going to be so young. And you know, you get past the rookies, you got a lot of second-year guys and guys that were hurt throughout last year. So what they tried to do was go get guys in big programs. You know, they go get an Ahmed Plummer out of Ohio State. They get a Julian Peterson out of Michigan State. Guys that were in major college programs and they thought could jump right in.
3rd and 4 might be the last snap of the first quarter. Farad on the play fake. With time, throws downfield. Pass is going to be incomplete, but here comes the flag. The pass intended for Travis McGriff. Jason Webster, another rookie out of Texas A&M on the coverage, and a late flag from 20 yards downfield. And this is an illegal man downfield against the Broncos.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Illegal contact, 29. Defense, ineligible on the passing team. Downfield, 71. Penalties offset. Replay 3rd down.
29, Ahmed Plummer, who we were just talking about. Webster, another rookie, as you mentioned, and another guy that comes out of a big program, although he comes out of Texas A&M. Used to be Chris Cole's teammate in college.
That's the end of the first quarter.
Didn't see a lot of passing, obviously, in that conference.
Well, Mike Shanahan not happy with that, but at least the Broncos will have a 3rd down to be replayed when we return for the second quarter. After one quarter, Dave Logan, Tony Zarelli, take a look at the first quarter stats. Not much to choose from, certainly offensively. Broncos with 28 yards passing the football to 9 for the Niners. Denver with an edge in first downs. They did commit the game's only turnover thus far, and a couple of penalties for the Broncos as well.
Well, you see the Niners with 9 passing yards. You know, decent crowd on hand for the Broncos. These contingent.
A few Bronco fans.
But Garcia not exactly lighting up on offense. Let's see what Farad can do.
3rd and 4 for Gus Farad from the 37. Gary will not have it. Olandis Gary out to about the 38-yard line. So for the 3rd consecutive series, the second-team Bronco offense failing to move the football. Hit there by Pearson Prelude, the second-year safety out of Virginia Tech.
Mike Shanahan not too happy about the last couple of drives. Prelude, a guy we're probably going to be talking a lot about tonight. As I mentioned before, he was one that they tried to throw in at corner last year. It didn't really work out. He was more suited for safety, which is where he is this year. And they feel at safety he could be a big play guy.
Ruin. And this is Kevin Williams. And Kevin Williams wisely steps out of bounds, and here comes 2 penalty flags. Ian Gold and George Coghill both down there. And I think one of them will be called for hitting Kevin Williams a bit out of bounds. 47 yards on the ruined punt.
Tell you what, sometimes, and you love this in a player, but sometimes they get so excited. A guy like Ian Gold.
Personal foul. Late hit out of bounds. 52 on the kicking team. 15-yard penalty, first down.
So, Dave, as you know, as a coach, you don't want to tame him too much. You love that enthusiasm, but you got to keep it in the lines, and sometimes they go a little over, especially when they're a little younger.
Yeah, Ian Gold has really had a very, very good training camp, especially in special teams. Mike Shanahan told us earlier this week that he's probably as quick a player, especially in linebacker, as the Broncos have seen in camp in Shanahan's tenure.
Well, do you remember when he got drafted? They had talked about he's the kind of guy that maybe could have switched over to safety. I don't know about that, but he's quick.
First minute of action in the second quarter. Broncos with a 4-point lead in San Francisco. Jeff Garcia at quarterback. The handoff to Terry Jackson as we welcome you back to 3Com Park. Jason Moore on the tackle for the Broncos.
Thought Archambault had a shot at him before he ever left the backfield. Right about here. Great shot at him. And couldn't arm tackle him. That's the difference between a 7-yard gain, 3-yard gain, and a loss of 2.
You take a look at Rick Meyer's numbers in the preseason. Meyer's 5th team in 5 years. Second down. Meyer to a wide open Terry Jackson. Jackson, with Cadrez missing, will have a 49er first down just outside the Bronco 40-yard line. Kenoe Kennedy, the second-round draft choice for the Broncos, up to make the tackle, but that's a gain of 19 yards for San Francisco.
You know, earlier in the game when I was talking about Garcia in camp, I think some people, when they signed Rick Meyer, thought he might come in and compete for the starting job. Well, Garcia still beats him out. Now, Cadrez, by the way, had a shot at him earlier in that play, but I thought Meyer, you know, a lot of people thought he might come in and win the job.
So the Niners will deploy both backs on the outside now. I think Terrell Owens jumped a little bit early. Yeah, Meyer's a guy that, with that kind of experience, you look for here. I mean, combined experience of the San Francisco quarterbacks.
Prior to the snap, false start. 81, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
As you hear Bill Corolla, the combined experience of these 49er quarterbacks, 9 years. 9 years of NFL experience, and Rick Meyer has 8 of them.
Yeah, he has a lot to do with that. And, you know, obviously people placed high expectations on him when he came out of school, and he hasn't really lived up to those expectations.
Was the Rookie of the Year back in '93 with the Seahawks, but after that season, it has been all downhill for Rick Meyer. This is Travis Jervey, and the former Packer with a big hole in the left side. Jervey to the Bronco 35-yard line, hit there by Kenoe Kennedy and Monty Reagan.
Jervey, of course, on the Packers team that lost to the Broncos in Super Bowl 32, and kind of a free-spirited guy, as you know. And you don't usually see him carry the football. He's more of a special teams guy. But on this team, he may get his reps.
6th-year player out of the Citadel. 2nd and 4. As the ball being re-spotted directly on the Denver 35-yard line. Rice and Terrell Owens continue at wide receiver. Jackson and Jervey behind Rick Meyer in the backfield. The draw, and Jervey upended a little bit shy of the first down by Jason Moore.
Interesting that you would see Jerry Rice still out there in a game like this of little significance when most of the other starters are coming out. It's got to be that they want to see what Rick Meyer can do with his top 2 receivers.
No question. I think for a second-team guy to really see what kind of ability he has, you've got to at least give him a chance to throw to some of your first-team receivers and with some first-team offensive linemen as well. 3rd and 1 now. From just outside the Bronco 31. Jervey hit hard, and Travis Jervey, it's going to be very, very close. Nice tackle there by Steve Russ in his 4th year in the Air Academy.
I don't know.
You see Monty Reager getting up off the pile too, but Russ, the left side of your screen will come down not blocked and got to Jervey at the line of scrimmage.
I'll tell you what, Mike Lodish also makes that play happen. He's just so explosive off the ball, and he had those offensive linemen going backwards from the beginning and standing them up. That allows Russ to come in later and block the other hole.
Well, by the length of the football, the 49er drive will continue.
Look at a guy like Steve Russ, who when he's in there for Romanowski, is pulling in the signals and calling the plays defensively. And, you know, you and I talked coming into the game. You think he's got a great shot. I think he's going to make this club. The question is, does he make it, and also Chris Gizzi make it?
I don't think so. 1st and 10, San Francisco at the 31. Owens in motion. Tossed. Jerby left side. And Jerby hit down by Chris Gizzi.
Really, the question for Mike Shanahan is, does he keep 6 linebackers or 7? And if you remember a year ago, they went into the season with 7 linebackers. The feeling now is they may keep 6. Do you try to put Chris Gizzi on the practice squad? If you do that, does he pass waivers? Does he clear? Maybe not. Maybe another team grabs him. That's the gamble that you have if you're Mike Shanahan.
2nd and 10 at the 31. Meyer will throw. Here comes Archambault. A leaping reception made by guess who? Jerry Rice at the Bronco 10-yard line in front of Jimmy Spencer. That is good for 21 yards and a San Francisco first down. How many times have the Niner fans seen plays like that?
Well, I mean, there's never been a better one than this guy. Nice throw by Meyer, too. A little high, but if you're Jerry Rice, you're coming down with that football.
One of the reasons the guy can stay in the league in his 16th year is he makes plays. We saw Terrell Owens earlier drop a pass that wasn't nearly that difficult. Rice with terrific hands. 1st and goal at the 10. Meyer looking to shuttle. The shovel pass a little bit low for Travis Jerby. It's an incomplete pass, 2nd and 10. 2nd and goal.
You and I were talking earlier during a commercial break about what makes a guy like Jerry Rice so great, because he's not as fast as people think, but he's a little stronger than people think. And he's got just fabulous hands, obviously. Greatest wide receiver in NFL history. I don't know about this play.
This is a safe play, the shovel pass, because even though the ball's in the ground, it is ruled a forward pass, so it's not a free ball. 2nd and 10. Clock stopped with 9:29 to go in the first half. Broncos lead 7-3. Quick pass to Owens, 1 to beat. Owens, a big wide receiver, cannot pull away from Terrell Buckley. I think Buckley getting up and questioning whether Owens got that stiff arm in his face mask, but a pretty good tackle by a guy who's 5'9", 175 pounds.
I thought that was a great play by Buckley. What the Niners are hoping here is that just one-on-one, they're going to beat Buckley after the catch. And Buckley said, I don't think so. Buckley, not a big guy, but pretty strong guy.
Terrell Owens, 6'3" and 218 pounds. Could not get rid of Terrell Buckley. 3rd and goal now from the 7. Meyer, end zone, touchdown San Francisco, and that is Jerry Rice. Well, he's got 180 touchdown receptions in games that count. Why not another one in a preseason game?
And he was looking at Rice the entire way. I mean, I'm watching Rice break on that pattern, and you knew it was going to him the whole time. But not much you can do about this. It's a play Jerry Rice has run for, 15 years. As he splits 2 guys. He's Jerry Rice.
Got a step on Jason Moore and a good throw by Rick Meyer. Wade Ritchie with the extra point, and San Francisco's first touchdown of the game has put them in front with 8:47 to go here in the first half, 10-7. Now as he caught a 7-yard touchdown pass from Rick Meyer, and Tony, that ball right in the money, and Rice once again, he doesn't drop balls like this.
No, Jason Moore's on him, but Jason Moore is a little overmatched on this play. And, you know, it's impossible to predict what a guy would do. Let's say back in '85, the Jets take Jerry Rice instead of Al Toon, who they took ahead of Jerry Rice. It's impossible to predict what Jerry Rice would have done. And you can't go back in hindsight. I mean, there were guys drafted ahead of Michael Jordan, but it's hard to believe there were 2 receivers taken ahead of Jerry Rice back in '85. You knew when he was in school, he was a great player. Al Toon and Eddie Brown drafted ahead of Rice if you go back to the '85 draft.
Jets and the Bengals. Rice, by the way, 3 catches for 31 yards, and including that touchdown. Wade Ritchie will kick it away, and Delta O'Neal from the Bronco goal line. And here goes the rookie from Cal. O'Neal stutter stepping his way to over the 40-yard line. And again, for the 2nd straight game, starting to show folks as to what his capabilities are. hit by John Keith of the 49ers, and Denver will have this possession start from their 40. Back in San Francisco, Dave Logan and Tony Zarella. Broncos trailing for the first time tonight after that man caught a 7-yard touchdown pass from Rick Meyer. I would suspect, Tony, he is done for the night.
Yeah, he's done for the night. You remember a few years ago, the Monday night game when Rice had just come back, an emotional night. They retire Montana's jersey at halftime. Rice catches a touchdown, gets hurt again.
Yeah, they were playing the Broncos. Gus Frerotte will throw on first down. And Robert Brooks will have a Bronco first down at the San Francisco 42-yard line. Monty Montgomery, again the fourth-year corner from Houston, on the coverage. They like Robert Brooks. We talked about his ability to get open. He still has that good quickness, Tony.
Yeah, definitely. And you notice they're working on Montgomery a lot more than they are on Ahmed Plummer, who is just a stud, the rookie out of Ohio State. Montgomery not bad, but you're always going to pick the lesser of the two evils there when you're going after a cornerback.
Robert Brooks, a couple of catches last week against the Cowboys. He and Travis McGriff now fighting for that third Bronco receiving spot. Frerotte on the roll as Chamberlain wide open. Byron Chamberlain will pick up a Bronco first down as he's ushered out of bounds at the San Francisco 26-yard line by Monty Montgomery.
Byron in the last couple of weeks back in the thick of things, so to speak, at tight end. And as they look ahead to cutting back, the feeling once again is that they'll keep 4 tight ends and use all of them in different ways, kind of like tight end by committee we always talk about as they replace Shannon. But Byron, arguably the best receiver in the group, and quick, and he'll get open on plays like that.
Well, helped himself last week with his performance against the Cowboys. Consecutive first down throws by Frerotte. This will carry for Landis Gary, and not much there. Winford Tubbs still in the game for the 49ers on the tackle. Tubbs, of course, playing in New Orleans as well as San Francisco. Great player from the University of Texas.
Yeah, and he's been around, and he was great with the Saints, and he came here and got banged up a little bit. The linebackers of the Niners banged up. You don't see Ken Norton out there, but Tubbs has been around, his 8th year in the league. When Norton comes back, Julian Peterson, the rookie out of Michigan State, this linebacker core won't be bad.
Frerotte 5 of 6 for 50 yards. Second down, Gus again to throw with pressure, throws it away. Well, that play had worked a number of times. Matter of fact, last week, both Greasy and Frerotte had their day with the waggle play, but that time Gus Frerotte with pressure in his face, incomplete, third down.
Yeah, Posey in there. Jeff Posey, who's pretty quick, gets in there as well. But Brenson Buckner, the former Steeler we talked about, Brenson on that Super Bowl team, I believe, of the Steelers that went on to lose to Dallas.
Reggie McGrew there as well. 3rd and 11 now. Clock at 6:41 of the first half. Broncos trail 10-7. Frerotte looks like he's going to get blitzed. Sees it coming. Gets it to McGriff. McGriff with 2 nice moves. 3. And McGriff caught from behind. Nice tackle by Jeff Posey. And I'll tell you this, if Posey's not there, McGriff is going to score.
Yeah, it was see you later. Posey, nice play. One of the things about Jeff Posey, he's very quick. I was talking about it on the last play, and very agile, and about as quick as a linebacker on this play. And you're right, if he doesn't tackle him there, see you later. You're going to see it on this angle, a little more yardage to the right side. There's no one on that side.
Posey, a combination defensive end and linebacker, 3rd-year player out of Southern Miss. So Jason Elam, who was perfect in his preseason, from the 35, an attempt of 45 yards, and I jinxed it. Elam's first miss of the preseason, and it prevents the Broncos from tying this game up. 5:58 to go in the first half. Niners cling to a 3-point lead in San Francisco, who was a perfect 7 of 7 in kicks in the preseason. Misses from 45 yards out, and San Francisco with a 10-7 lead. He had plenty of leg, just hooked it left.
Yeah, he just hooked it. I mean, Trey T came off the field, and Mike immediately addressed him with a very brief conversation, but the snap seemed to be okay. He just hooked it.
So the Niners take over 1st and 10 from their 36-yard line. Rick Meyer, who replaced Jeff Garcia, now at quarterback. And this is Travis Jervey. With penalty flags thrown, Jervey hit by Chris Gizzy at the line of scrimmage, no gain. And this will back San Francisco up. Bronco fans, as you take a look at Mike Shanahan, you've been used to seeing Gary Kubiak in the sideline.
Offense, 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
But Gary Kubiak has spent much of the preseason up in the box. And talking to Mike Shanahan, it looks like that's how they will start the season off, with the offensive coordinator of the Broncos upstairs, which will be the first time, I believe, in Kubiak's career he has not been on the sideline. Kind of watching how things are going. Of course, Mike Heimerdinger, the offensive coordinator now with the Tennessee Titans. Take a look at Gary Kubiak in the box. Heimerdinger, the receiver coach last year, was one of the guys upstairs. He moves on to a coordinator's job, and Kubiak moves upstairs. First and 25 now. Swing pass right flat. That's that's Terry Jackson. And Jackson run out of bounds by Jimmy Spencer.
And getting back to Kubiak, I'm going to see this play again. And we talked about Terry Jackson being so versatile. A nice play on Spencer to quickly come up and keep him from getting any yardage. You know, getting back to Kubiak, you have to wonder if the Broncos bounce back and have another successful season, if the calls will start coming again for him. And you believe he'll be a head coach someday in the NFL?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it might be sooner than you think. Second and 19, excuse me. Another short pass. That's the tight end, Sean Bell. And hit by Kanoe Kennedy. Everything is short for San Francisco. It's one of the concerns, I think, maybe not the team has, but the folks who follow the team have certainly been vocal in this preseason. They don't throw the ball downfield. Everything is short. And I think some question whether Jeff Garcia has enough arm strength to throw the ball downfield.
But even in their glory days, they weren't opening it up too much. A lot of the passes were short passes. Everybody talks about the system, but they could air it out when they had to.
Rick Meyer faces 3rd and 13. Plenty of time. Meyer will dump it. This is Jackson. Jackson out to the 41. A nice tackle there by Glenn Cudrez. Broncos have been very, very pleased in the last 2 or 3 years with how they have increased the speed of their defensive team.
And Cudrez, of course, the leading tackler last year, filling in for Mobley tonight. And you may see Cudrez out there a week from Monday when they're in St. Louis. They're playing on turf against that team. Do you hold Mobley out again one more week, knowing Cudrez can step in and make plays like this?
I think you do. Chad Stanley, whose first 2 punts were only 33 yards, another short one. And O'Neal scurrying up, waving fair catch at the Denver 32.
A lot of people excited to see Deltha O'Neal back in town. Deltha, of course, playing at Cal. And had a chance to bring in some family and friends for this game. Just a reminder, as always, we continue our Broncos coverage on Sunday nights at 10:35. Broncos Tonight, the most in-depth coverage of the Broncos. Adam Schefter, of course, from the Denver Post, always on hand. Broncos Tonight, Sunday nights at 10:35 on 9 News.
Gus Frerotte continues at quarterback for the Broncos. 1st and 10 from the Denver 32. Frerotte with a play fake and throws well short of Robert Brooks at midfield. Coverage on the play by Ahmed Plummer.
Yeah, Brooks had a step on him. I'll tell you, the Plummer. I mean, they are so happy with Ahmed Plummer. This guy, the 16th pick in the draft, comes from. He was a 3-year starter at Ohio State, which had some pretty good cornerbacks there over the last few years. Winfield was there, of course. But Plummer's a guy that they just love and feel, even at that position, cornerback, which is tough on rookies. He can step in and be a major player in this league.
Brooks in motion, 2nd and 10 from the 32, and here comes the draw to Gary. Olandis Gary running hard to be knocked down shy of the 40.
Olandis getting tons of reps. Knew he would. All but the first game. You know, didn't play a lot against Arizona, had the hamstring thing. So in that game, John Avery picked up most of the slack. But Olandis since then has really carried the bulk of the workload, so to speak, for the running backs.
Jeff Posey, the tackle for the Niners, 3rd and 2. The backfield empty for Gus Frerotte. Quick throw left side, almost picked off. Intended for Travis McGriff, and Monty Montgomery had both hands on that football and 40 yards of grass in front of him.
Yeah, I think Monty was already looking ahead. There was going to be a 40-yard dash. And a 17-7 lead for the 49ers. He walks off the field laughing. This is his ball. Not a good throw.
Broncos lucky there. Tom Ruin with a nice kick. Kevin Williams sees it hit at the 1 and skip into the end zone. That is a punt of 60 yards by Ruin. And San Francisco will start on their 20.
This is a series, of course, that began back in 1995. The best in the West, benefiting a charity. The winning team receives a trophy and $40,000 of the charity pool. The Broncos have won all 4 previous meetings. Last year, of course, not a close one, 34-3. And that may have been the way this one turned out, too, if it was played a little earlier in the preseason. The win, obviously not as important to the Broncos as keeping everybody healthy and heading home and looking ahead to St. Louis 1 week from Monday.
Of course, these two teams will meet in the regular season, the last regular season game of the year at Mile High Stadium, December 23rd. Rick Meyer to throw on first down. Got a completion left side. And that ball, that is Ty Streets on the reception.
Guy they really like. In fact, the talk throughout Niner camp has been that Ty Streets could beat out J.J. Stokes for their 3rd spot.
They like Streets very much. He was a 6th-round draft choice last year, but he tore his Achilles before the draft. And a lot of folks thought that had that not happened, he would have been a 1st or 2nd-round pick in last year's draft. Gain of 5 on the completion, 2nd and 5. Travis Jervey hit hard by Jason Moore.
Yeah, great job. Jason was up there immediately. Jervey had nowhere to go on that. Question is, what is Jason Moore going to be doing on Monday? There's only so many DBs that the Broncos are going to keep.
We've come to the 2-minute warning here at 3Com Park in San Francisco, and the Niners enjoying a 10-7 lead over the Broncos. The 49ers lead the Broncos 10-7. Most of the first-team players for both clubs now on the sideline, getting set to think about their opening games, the regular season. As Tony said, the Broncos will be in St. Louis a week from Monday. And the 49ers play the Atlanta Falcons, the Broncos' 2nd week. 3rd and 2, San Francisco from their 28. Meyer on the run. Dumps the football, and that's going to be very, very close. Pass is caught by Sean Bell. That's his 3rd reception, hit by Kanoe Kennedy.
Greg Clark, of course, the #1 tight end for the Niners, out with a calf strain. One of many 49ers nursing injuries. Didn't see a lot of their starters tonight.
Denver has taken a timeout. The spot is going to be a little bit short. One of the other 49er tight ends, Justin Swift, out of Kansas State, who was in the Bronco training camp last year.
I'll tell you what, the Broncos looking at their tight end situation, and I mentioned this earlier, you got to believe they're going to come out of this weekend with 4 tight ends. They all offer something different. They love the potential of a Billy Miller.
I don't think there's any question that they'll keep 4 tight ends. And I'm not sure as they went into camp that was the thinking. I think they hoped someone would surface so clearly that maybe it would give them the ability to move one of those other 4. But that didn't happen, and Byron Chamberlain with a great game last week really put himself right back in the mix. Niners a yard short, so Chad Stanley has to kick it away again. A high kick that Delta O'Neal weighs fair catch and makes it at the Denver 34-yard line. For Stanley, a kick of 36 yards. Now with a minute 41 to go, we see what Gus Barak, the Bronco offense can do.
Delta, obviously, the last couple of punts, not doing much fair catching, but we have seen his explosiveness and his potential last weekend, a couple of times tonight.
First and 10 from the Bronco 35-yard line. Andre Reed again, left side. Farrat throws right, a little bit low, and a diving effort by Robert Brooks. No catch. Gus has not been as sharp as we've seen him in the last couple of weeks. Brooks getting in for the Broncos. That wide receiver Chamberlain is the tight end. Second and 10 from the 35, and Gus to throw again. With pressure, Farrat is going to be sacked inside the Denver 25-yard line.
I'm going to let you do this pronunciation, man.
Well, Brenston Buckner was there for sure, and Cheeky Okafor.
Buckner I could handle. Okafor, a nice play, a great play by Farrat to have the wherewithal to jump back on that football. Niners had thoughts that they were going to pick that up and take it in.
A loss of 15 in the play. Clock running with 65 seconds left in the half. Broncos 3rd and 25. Farrat will need a huge play here. It'll be a Landis Gary, and it won't be for much. Broncos now just very comfortable to punt it away if they can and get into the locker room.
The Niners, on the other hand, want to try to punch one in. 48 seconds left. They just call another timeout, frantically yelling for a timeout on the sidelines. Thinking points. Saw the graphic earlier. The Broncos a little sloppy offensively that they'd allowed. They've been great protecting the quarterback coming into tonight. And now tonight, 3 sacks. I believe they had allowed 1 in the first 3 games. Let's talk baseball. Todd Helton, we saw that got hit early in the game tonight, but he was okay. The Rockies beating the Pirates in Pittsburgh 6-3. The Lions leading the Bengals in Cincy 14-7. The Chiefs taking it big by the Bucks in the 4th. Ravens down by 10 at New York. The Dolphins 16-10 in the 3rd. Down in New Orleans, the Steelers at Washington, trailing by a field goal in the 3rd.
Chiefs getting pounded again at home. The Niners only win in the preseason at Arrowhead. They beat Kansas City 33-10. Willing to kick it away. Kevin Williams backpedaling, makes the catch, and is tackled from behind before he can get a head of steam up. Nice coverage by Chris Watson of the Broncos. Watson right on the bubble, making this team, and certainly can help himself with a big game tonight.
No question, if he makes this club, it's going to be because of his special teams play. Not only his potential that they hope eventually can take some back, you know, not just have Delta be the only guy, but on coverage teams, he's been even more impressive. I don't know how much time he would see in the defensive backfield. That's a numbers game that he just can't seem to crack right now. But his coverage skills, not bad. And if he makes this club, it's because of those.
No question, he's got the ability to play, and certainly has played better the last couple of weeks. Meyer in the flat. It's going to be a short gain to Josh White. Josh White, rookie fullback out of the University of California.
Delta's former college teammate. One of many, many guys on this roster that either played in college locally or grew up in this area. The Niners just love these homegrown guys.
Gain of 2, 2nd and 8. The clock stops with 34 seconds left in the first half. Meyer again to throw. Flushed by Tanavasa. Throws on the run, and that is going to be a first down. First down to J.J. Stokes. Out of the 49er 46-yard line. Coverage by Terrell Buckley, but a good throw by Rick Meyer on the run.
Nice job getting out of the pressure, too, as you mentioned. Getting a little heat right here. Nice job rolling left, and then the strike to keep the drive alive.
Stokes in his 6th season now out of UCLA. 27 seconds left here in the first half. San Francisco trying to add to their 10-7 lead. Meyer. Pass for J.J. Stokes, incomplete. Jason Moore in the coverage. They got tangled up at about the 45, and the crowd wants pass interference. No flags.
So does Mariucci. Started screaming immediately. It looked like there was some contact there. I think they could have gotten that call.
And it looked like a ball that should have been caught. Myers had an impressive first half thus far, 11 of 13 for 83 yards, including a touchdown. 2nd and 10 from the San Francisco 46. Meyer flushed, has room. Throws intended for Ty Streets, who caught the ball but didn't have both feet in bounds. Incomplete, 3rd down and 10.
I'll tell you what.
A penalty flag on the play.
And that was a great effort by Monte Rager getting into the backfield. He just completely bull rushed and had Meyer on the move immediately. Nice play by Monte, who's been kind of quiet.
Take a look at a receiver running downfield all by himself. That's Dwight Carter. Of course, Rick Meyer on a roll away from that side of the field, so never would see. This is going to be a penalty against the 49ers, evidently.
Illegal pass, number 3, on the offense, beyond the line of scrimmage. It'll be a 5-yard penalty from the spot of the pass. It also includes a loss of down and a 10-second runoff. Please readjust the clock to 5 seconds. 3rd down.
So Meyer passed the line of scrimmage, a 5-yard penalty, plus the Niners will lose the down, plus they lose 10 seconds off the clock. So now, just enough time, you would think, for a Hail Mary.
Mariucci obviously not too happy about that. He wanted to see what they could do in this 2-minute offense, and they seem to be driving the ball. And they shoot themselves in the foot.
So Streets, Stokes, and Williams split left. Carter to the right. And you would think that Rick Meyer will get a deep drop and throw this thing about as far as he can. 3rd and 13 from the Niner 43. Broncos rush 2. The ball is up and it's going to be intercepted. That's Kanoe Kennedy. Kanoe Kennedy for the Broncos, his first interception in the preseason. And we have come to the end of the first half in San Francisco. Broncos and the Niners on their way to the respective dressing rooms, and we will await the kick of Wade Ritchie. This some 3 yards deep in the end zone, and O'Neal decides to bring it out. Runs into the back of, I think, Billy Miller, and down at about the 18-yard line. John Keith was there also for San Francisco, but not so sure Delta didn't first make contact with his own teammate.
Yeah, he ran into his own guy, and I don't know if you saw when he got up, and please don't read lips, but he was not happy with himself. Felt he should have read that a little bit better, busting out of the end zone and instead of just running straight ahead and hitting his own guy.
Farrat continues at quarterback. McGriff will be right, and Brooks to the left side. Olandis Gary, the running back. Desmond Clark and Byron Chamberlain, the double tight end. And Olandis Gary pounds off the right side out to about the 23-yard line, hit there by Ronnie Hurd, the rookie out of Mississippi. In the secondary for the 49ers, at least starting tonight, Ahmad Plummer, a rookie from Ohio State. Monty Montgomery, a 4th-year player from Houston. The backup corners, Jason Webster, a rookie from Texas A&M. And Anthony Parker, 2nd-year player from Weber State. Lots of youth in this 49ers secondary. 2nd down carry for Gary, who bulls his way out over the 25-yard line before Edward Thomas, a first-year linebacker of Georgia Southern, makes the stop.
Gary getting a lot of reps, and Gary's going to get a lot of reps. We've talked about this. He'll get a lot of reps throughout the season to come in and spell Terrell, but the news out of Broncos camp this week, of course, was the release of John Avery. And Mike Shanahan actually doing Avery a favor, because I know Mike firmly believes Avery's going to play someplace in this league. By not waiting until after this weekend, maybe he catches on with somebody.
3rd and 4 from the 25. Parat throws right side, and that's going to be Travis McGriff for a Denver first down out over the 36-yard line. McGriff with Anthony Parker in hot pursuit has a Denver first down, and again shows you really nice hands and quick feet.
Yeah, great feet, great hands, a lot of quickness. And, you know, he always seems to be coming away from a play, slapping his hands and saying, one more move and I'm gone. He did it twice against the Cowboys. It looked like he was going to break one. And you get the feeling sooner or later he's going to bust.
You saw the 3rd catch of the night for Travis. First down Denver at the 37. Landis Gary out to about the 42-yard line. Gary's not the kind of back that you expect to take it 80 yards every carry, as Thomas and Keith combine in the tackle. His longest carry in the preseason for only 20 yards, and yet you think back to last year, he went 71 yards against the Seahawks in Mile High Stadium, and had it not been for Sean Springs, one of the fastest players in the league, Gary would have scored.
He can run. You know, we talk about his bruising style. That's what makes him so good. He's so versatile. He can pound you away in the middle, and then he can still break one.
Gain of 5 on first down. Barat fumbles the snap. Picks it up and is swarmed under for a loss in the play. And a penalty flag to boot.
Now, it looked like everybody but Mariucci jumped on that one.
And it's against San Francisco. It's got to be tough for that guy right there. Steve Mariucci's had some very good clubs here in San Francisco, and I don't know how you approach as a head coach where you know you're not going to be very good.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You know, you talk about them winning 4 games last year, their worst record in 20 years, and now 4 wins might be optimistic for this club this year. They're in for a long year, and they're used to success here.
Steve Mariucci signed through the 2001 season.
He's not the problem. The problem is the hole they built with the cap.
That man standing next to him, Richard Smith, the former Broncos special teams coach, now coaching linebackers for San Francisco.
I'm not sure coaching's the problem with this club.
2nd and 1 from the 47. And Gary with a big hole. And Landis Gary ramrods his way into San Francisco territory for a Denver first down. Chiki Okifor, second-year defensive end out of Purdue on the tackle.
Great shot of Landis coming right at us and, you know, just banging away. 4 yards, 5 yards at a clip.
Well, he can do that. 1,159 yards last year as a rookie. Replacing Terrell Davis as the starter in week 5. He's got it again. Starting to run with some confidence now, and Denver up front doing a nice job just moving this 49er defense backwards. William Carr, the first-year tackle out of Michigan for San Francisco.
You notice how many times you say first-year guy, second-year guy with the Niners. And you know, Dave, you know, the more reps you get, the more comfortable you are out there. You kind of get into a rhythm, and you can see Gary, when he gets 10 carries a game or more, starts to get into that.
The last one for 4 yards, 2nd and 6. Broncos have taken the second-half kickoff and moved down the field. Pass deflected and almost intercepted. Chiki Okifor had his hands on it, couldn't quite bring it down.
One of the things we've seen with Gus Frerotte throughout the preseason games, he had, remember, the 3 knockdown in 1 series span, and that one tipped as well. Now you're going to make that catch.
If you do, you start wearing an 8 instead of a 9. You're a receiver instead of a defensive end. 3rd and 6 from the 44. Barat looks right, throws right. Pass is going to be caught by Travis McGriff with a penalty flag thrown. McGriff was tangled up with Anthony Parker. Parker, we told you last year, the 4th-round draft choice of the 49ers, he tore his ACL in training camp, missed the entire year. So he's trying to battle himself back into playing shape, and I think he got caught for the hold.
This is exactly what you don't want in a game like this, is for things to get dragged down by the penalties.
Number 26 on the defense. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of penalties in these 4 games. 4 minutes into the second half. Kind of thrown into neutral here. It gets ugly.
So the clock continues to run. The Broncos have taken the opening kickoff and already 4 minutes off the clock. 1st and 10 at the San Francisco 32. Farad again. Loads it up. He wants Brooks just a little bit too far in the back of the end zone. Brooks had beaten Jason Webster on the play, but the ball a little bit too far, incomplete, 2nd and 10.
It looked like Brooks had a step or two on him, but then kind of hesitated. He knew he was open. He was trying to see if Gus knew he was open, and then it looks like he hesitates for half a second as he looks back and then picks it back up into gear. But it was overthrown anyway.
Toughest catch for a receiver is one that ball comes right down over your head, and you can't really turn left or right. You almost have to lower your neck and see it coming off the back of your head. Quick throw to Brooks is good inside the 49er 30. Jeff Posey for San Francisco.
And you mentioned at the top of the show that one of the things impressive to you was that he still has the legs. He still has that quickness after being away for a year, and that's not something you can guarantee when you come back after a layoff like that.
So Robert Brooks figures to get extended playing time tonight, no question about that.
But it will probably continue. I mean, we talked about this battle for the number 3 spot. That could go on throughout the season.
Gus Farad with his 10th completion of the game, and a nice catch there by Robert Brooks. And that should be enough for a 1st down. See, this is something a veteran receiver can give you. That ball not really thrown on the money, and yet watch how he goes down and gets both arms underneath. And that ball behind him, that's a difficult catch.
And we've seen Andre Reed do it as well since coming into camp with the Broncos. And that's why I say that everybody talks about these battles. It's not as though on Monday the battle's end. You know, Brooks will continue to grow in this offense.
5.5-minute drive as Denver looks for points here in the 3rd quarter. Gary running hard. John Millam, the first to greet him for San Francisco, a 6'7", 290-pound rookie out of Lenore Rhine. Spent 3 years in the Marines.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's an interesting story. You know, he kind of like we talk about Mike Anderson being older than your average rookie. Well, this guy's in the same situation. In the Marines for a few years. He's 25 years old. Kind of like an elder statesman on this team.
Alandis, 14 carries now, 47 yards, and here he goes again. Gary running hard inside the 15-yard line, carrying 49ers with him. Jim Emanuel, rookie out of Hofstra, on the tackle. And Tony Denver right now just dominating the 49er front.
Well, that's a great way to open up the second half. We talked earlier about Mike Shanahan just being a little frustrated there with the second quarter. Landis just keeps churning and churning. But it's a nice drive. It's a nice way to take some time off the clock. They're midway through now here in the 3rd quarter. And I think Mike's a lot more satisfied with this one than with what he saw in the 2nd quarter.
3rd down and 1. And Denver in the double tight end formation will run on Landis again. He got hit behind the line of scrimmage, but powered his way, I think, to the 1st down. Hit by William Clark. Now, you think about William Clark is 6 feet tall and 294 pounds. And Alandis Gary, on contact, took William Clark for about 1.5 yards.
You look at Alandis, you know, he's not a big guy, but he's such a strong guy. He's such a powerful runner. A lot of people are tricked. And he's not a tall guy. He doesn't look like Mike Anderson. But he'll run you over, even if you're 290.
16 carries now, 53 yards for Gary. 1st down from the 11. Gary again. Nice cut to the goal line, into the end zone. That is a Denver touchdown. And the Broncos made it look easy on that drive.
You see, as soon as he cuts back, he's going in. One way or the other, he was going in, and he chose to do it in style and finish going up and over. But a sweet run by Alandis Gary, and only fitting he would cap off this drive because he had a lot to do with this drive.
So Jason Elam's extra point try, if made, will give the Broncos a 4-point lead. He's got it. And so do they. Alandis Gary, 17 carries now, 65 yards, and also his 3rd rushing touchdown of the preseason. 7:31 left in the 3rd quarter. Broncos back in front of the Niners, 14-10. Back in San Francisco, Dave Logan, Tony Zarella, Broncos with a 14-10 lead. Just an outstanding drive. 15 plays, excuse me. 81 yards, and they took 7:29 off the clock. And Landis Gary from 11 yards out. So Elam with the kick. Bounces at the 16. Carter picks it up and is in big trouble. Bronco coverage team down in mass. Hilary Butler on the tackle. We'll take a timeout from 3Com with the Broncos in front by 4. Broncos is here, nice and cozy. How do you like the booth?
I like it. Look, it's better than mine.
I don't know about that.
Pat Bowen, the owner of the Broncos, joins us as San Francisco, for the first time here in the third quarter, takes possession. 1st and 10 at their 19-yard line. Rick Meyer continues at quarterback since replacing Jeff Garcia. And he will hand to Travis Jervy. Jervy runs through a Jimmy Spencer tackle, spins around, and is going to be out close to the 40-yard line. Larry Fitzpatrick from his defensive end spot all the way downfield on Jervy. But a pretty good job running and not so good tackling by the Broncos.
Well, I think Jervy knew, too, when he kind of busted out into the clear that he didn't have enough speed to take it another 60 yards. So he tried to get a little tricky. Right about here, it's open. Right there, and then he knew he was going to be cornered. They had the angle on him, so he kind of tried to get tricky there.
He goes 21 yards, and San Francisco with a 1st and 10 at the 39. Slant pattern, tie streets, wrapped up by Spencer at the 48-yard line. Pat, as you look at this club now as it gets ready for the regular season next week, what are some of your impressions of what you've seen?
Well, I think we're a lot better than we were last year, Dave. That's my first impression. I'm a little concerned about the defense, but I think they picked it up a little bit in this game, and they're starting to gel. And I'm a lot happier at this stage of the season than I was last year.
Are you relieved to see Terrell go out like he did in the first quarter tonight on that drive and do a couple of those cutbacks and then cap it off with the touchdown?
You know, from where I was sitting, I was actually behind him, and he started to look like the old Terrell. You know, he was making the moves that he did 2 years ago, and I'm very relieved to see that.
A little bit short of the first down, second and less than 1. If you can remember back to last year at this time, did you have concerns going into the regular season that maybe things weren't right, or could you not have a feel for that?
No, I think we all had concerns. You know, John's retirement was a big thing, and you know, we were struggling at quarterback. We had made a decision that Brian was going to play, and you know, he was basically a rookie, and so there was a lot of concerns swirling around the organization. I don't think we had the right attitude last year either.
And you sense a difference already in this team.
Big time difference.
Terrell talked about it, looking around in the huddle and feeling that the enthusiasm is just a totally different mindset.
2nd and short, and Meyer looks for it all. For Stokes, and a bit too far coverage by Jimmy Spencer. Speaking of Spencer, some of the free agents that you guys have signed in the offseason have really, at least thus far, paid dividends for it.
I think so, you know, especially the two corners, Buckley and Spencer. I think either one of them could start. We're not sure which one will, but they're both high-quality corners. I think they'll be a big improvement.
Pat, this game has become an annual event here. You guys do this for charity. You bang heads with the Niners. Is this something you're going to continue?
Absolutely. You know, we've won every year since we started that, so
why wouldn't you?
Meyer on 3rd and a couple of feet sneaks ahead for what looks like a 1st down. But you would know, obviously, in your time in this league, I mean, San Francisco, one of the great organizations, 5 Super Bowls, and yet you look at last year 4-12 and where they are with the salary cap and what they have on this roster. I mean, this is one of the storied franchises that, at least for the next couple of years, looks to be going nowhere.
Well, but I think that's going to happen to most franchises under our current situation. You know, they spend a lot of money, and they're paying the price now, but they'll be back.
Meyer on 1st down hands to Jervy, who is hit behind the line of scrimmage. Steve Russ is there, so is Ian Gold and Chris Gizzi. Do you foresee something like that at some point happening to your organization?
You know, as time's gone by, we've learned that you can't do that. You can't go out and do what the 49ers did and maybe what Washington's doing now, that eventually it catches up with you and you have those down years where you can't really correct it, and it takes you 3 or 4 years to get back involved. And I think Mike knows that. And I like the way that Mike signs our players and the way we do our business.
Jervy 7 carries now for 39 yards. That for 1, 2nd and 9. And Meyer will throw. Being flushed by Rager and throws the ball out of bounds. Monty Rager may have put on 18 pounds of muscle in the offseason, but he's still quick enough to chase quarterbacks, and now being talked to a bit by Matt Willig, one of the offensive linemen, who evidently didn't like the hit he put on Rick Meyer.
You know, Monte was so impressive early in camp with the Trevor situation and really opened a lot of eyes.
Nothing wrong with that hit.
Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about with that one. Pat, one of the numbers I threw out earlier was the Niners 21%, which is an all-time high of their cap, is going out to guys who aren't on the roster anymore. When you're in that situation, how long do you think it'll take them to get out of this?
Well, at least 3 or 4 years. Yeah, but I think I really do. I think they're well on the way. I think they had a great draft.
Meyer with a throw on 3rd down to Kevin Williams. That's going to be inside the Bronco 35-yard line. It will be a 1st down. Steve Russ for Denver. Kevin Williams signed in the offseason. In his 8th year out of Miami, it was wide open.
Well, you'd think people in Denver were antsy about the Steve Young decision. Rick Meyer was pretty antsy, too, because he was on hold until Young decided to retire, and he knew he wasn't coming back here. And the next day, they signed Meyer. And, you know, I know it's the second half of the last preseason game, but if he keeps throwing strikes and they're losing early, the natural cry from the fans will be to play him over Garcia.
1st down, Jervy. Jervy with a nice move on Kanoy Kennedy. Gets close to 9 yards before Jason Moore has to bring him down. Speaking of Kennedy, who missed that tackle, but some of your draft choices this year, Ian Gold, Kanoy Kennedy, they have really looked good.
Yeah, we've had a number of successful drafts over the years, and this is one of the more successful. I look to see guys like Kennedy really step up, and you know, Mike's talked about him in the same breath as Steve Atwater, so that's a big deal.
Jervy now unofficially 8 carries for 49 yards. One of the fastest players on the 49ers roster. Niners with a nice drive of their own. 2nd and 1. Meyer to the end zone. That's incomplete. And contact in the end zone. He tried to fit the ball into former Bronco Justin Swift. Chris Gizzy and Jason Moore there on the coverage. You know Steve Mariucci wanted that call.
Well, yeah, I was watching that play from the beginning and watching Swift try to cut between those guys. He's not fleet of foot is the nicest way to say this. Oh, he can't be tired. He hasn't been out there that long. But I thought that pass was a little optimistic, to be honest with you.
Broncos liked him last year in training camp. He was one of the later cuts. Meyer now 13 of 19 for 103 yards and a touchdown. 3rd and 1. Handoff Jervy, who was hit behind the line of scrimmage, but with 2nd effort should have it. Larry Fitzpatrick for Denver. Travis Jervy, you think of him as a little scat back because of his speed, but Jervy's 225 pounds. He is not a small back.
You know, Pat, every time you drive up I-25 and you see that stadium come together, I mean, it looks like it's going up at a great pace. When was the last time you were there, and how's it going?
Well, I was over there a couple of weeks ago, and I am really impressed with the way that it's going. The contractor's done a terrific job, right on schedule. And, you know, I just can't wait till this time next year.
Jervy again on the trap. Picks up good yardage to the Bronco 13-yard line. Take a look at the stadium. And
this is, I mean, it's a gorgeous place. And obviously, Pat, everybody's heart and emotions are tied into Mile High. And it's always tough to leave a stadium. But you look at this place.
Oh, this is going to be, it's going to be a real big surprise, I think, to everybody. It's going to be, I believe it's going to be the best stadium in the National Football League for a long, long time.
Under 2 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter, 2nd and 3. Toss Jervy. Gets the corner. Running hard is knocked down at the 3-yard line by Kanoy Kennedy. And that's a big hit. Both players congratulated each other. That's a big hit on a big back.
Well, Pat, you made the you talked about Mike's reference to Steve Atwater. We've seen Canoy throughout this preseason just level people.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's impressive.
That looked more like Dennis Smith to me.
You know what? It really did. Bodies flying everywhere. Dennis Smith, one of the great safeties of all time. Derby now unofficially 14 carries, 70 yards, and the Niners knocking on the door. Meyer fumbles the snap. Falls on him and 3. So next year when the stadium opens, the first 2 Ring of Famers, I guess Dennis Smith and Carl Mecklenburg, correct?
Absolutely. You know, I talked to them this year and I said, I really would like to wait and put you into the Ring of Fame next year. You're officially in, but let's wait and do it next year because I think we can do a much better job. And I think they're both happy with that.
2 great players. 38 seconds and counting. 2nd and goal from the 3. Will the Niners throw here? No. Jervy. Into the end zone. San Francisco touchdown. You got a good block from Josh White, the rookie fullback out of California, and Travis Jervy caps off an impressive play. Got 28 seconds left. Wade Ritchie with the extra point try up, and it is good. I don't know how many quarters in the quarter with a 19-play, 86-yard drive, 81-yard drive, excuse me. Take 7:29 off the clock. The Niners come back 14 plays, 81 yards, and 7:03 off the clock. And San Francisco leading Denver 17-14. Pat Bowlen, our guest, up here in the booth, Pre-Com Park. We'll keep Pat for a few more minutes. Actually, Pat owns the club. He can stay as long as he wants to.
I'm an invitee.
Yeah. You might just ask me to leave, and I would have to do so.
I don't think so, Dave.
How about Tony?
Well, maybe I could take a look.
You never know, man.
Ritchie with the kick. Here comes Deltha O'Neal at the 12. O'Neal is squeezed at about the 34-yard line by a host of 49ers, led by Ramos McDonald. 18 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Broncos down 3 at 3-com. Back with 18 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. Niners lead the Broncos 17-14. Dave Logan, Tony Zarella from 3-com Park in San Francisco. Last time the Broncos had the football, they went on a 19-play scoring drive. Landis Gary took it in from 11 yards out. Landis right now out of the game, and Mike Anderson is in at running back. Detron Smith in motion. Farrat's got Smith wide open, but throws a low pass, which is caught by Byron Chamberlain. That yell you heard was from Pat Bowlen, who I think saw Detron Smith up the sideline. Did you see him?
Wide open.
We all saw him. Marcus Hill in the tackle for the 49ers. I mean, Detron was all by himself. Of course, it's easy to play the game up here. Niners lead the Broncos after 3, 17-14.
Back at San Francisco at 3-com. The Broncos down by a field goal, 17-14, as we open up the 4th quarter with Dave Logan and Pat Bowlen, Tony Zarella. In case you missed it, because we've had tons of requests, it's coming back one more time, 40 years and a cloud of dust. The 40-year history of the Denver Broncos. We're going to rerun it Sunday night at 11:35 after Broncos Tonight and the Sonny Lubick Show.
Set to start the 4th quarter. Broncos with a 2nd down, and Farrat to throw. Pressure, and down he goes. Farrat pressured by John Engelberger, 2nd-round draft choice this year out of Virginia Tech. Gus sacked for the 3rd time tonight.
Which has been rare. I mean, they've done such a great job throughout the preseason of protecting the quarterback. He hesitates a little bit too long there and gets caught. And yeah, the numbers are not in their favor in terms of sacks tonight.
So 3rd and 9 as McGriff goes to the right side. Brooks and Reed are split left. Farrat again pressured, has to dump the football. That time the pressure came from Cedric Killings, who's a rookie out of Carson Newman. Four-time Division II All-American, got pretty good push that time, and Gus Frerotte had to throw it away.
So, Pat, I wanted to ask you, one of the things Mike always talks about, and especially throughout the camp and this preseason, is the character issue. And Mike truly believes there's a big difference in the character of this team, and that, of course, leads to the enthusiasm and what Terrell refers to looking around the huddle. Have you sensed that right away?
I think so. I think the situation with Rod Smith is a good example. Rod went to New York and pled his case to the head office and came away with a good ruling.
We'll come back as the San Francisco 49ers have it for the first time here in the fourth quarter. Getting a good look at the 7th round draft choice this year for the 49ers, Tim Rattay, the 6 feet, 215-pound rookie out of Louisiana Tech. 49ers look like they'll keep 4 quarterbacks, believe it or not. Gio Carmazzi, who's a rookie out of Hofstra, they drafted in the 3rd round. We haven't seen him yet. 1st and 10, San Francisco now at the 25. Rattay turns hands off to Jonas Lewis, a rookie out of San Diego State, hit by Chris Gizik.
Oh, Rattay has outplayed Carmazzi throughout the preseason, but this is another issue they have with the cap. They don't want to cut Carmazzi. They believe in him, but also, if they cut him, it's another $500,000 against the cap.
Pat Bowlen, the owner of the Broncos, our guest here in the booth. Talk a little bit about Bill Romanowski and his situation. Are you satisfied with where that stands now, and do you foresee any future problems with?
I'm very satisfied with where it is now. One of the things that was really heartening to me was Steve Atwater when he came back saying the things that he said about Romanowski. But I'm very disappointed in SI, and I'm very disappointed in the writer of that particular article. How they could go forward with that kind of a story on an undisclosed source is, in my mind, the worst kind of journalism, especially with those kind of accusations. I'm really disappointed in that magazine, basically.
Rattay tries to squeeze one into Carter, knocked away by George Coghill. People talk about what it does to a team or what it does in the locker room, and my theory on that is you never really know unless you spend a whole lot of time in the locker room.
Right, and I'll tell you what, I think the Broncos, our football team, has left that issue behind us. I don't even think we're thinking about it, but it really bothers me, as I said a few minutes ago, that we would see that kind of an accusation in a nationally well-known magazine without any backup. I mean, it just floored me.
Rattay tries to get the slant to Kevin Williams, and a nice play by Deltha O'Neal.
Well, second straight play that Rattay has forced it, which you want a quarterback to be aggressive, and you want him to go after situations like that, but that's a force. Nice play by Deltha to break that one up.
Pressure and a very, very short punt by Chad Stanley. Bouncing around just outside the 49er 40-yard line. And some boos here at 3Com Park. Broncos start the drive at the San Francisco 41-yard line. We'll keep Pat Bowlen for just one more series.
Pat, you look ahead to the opener in St. Louis, and there are easier ways to open a season, but on the other hand, if you go out there and you throw them back a little bit, stun them, you win that one. What a tremendous way to start the season.
I'm happy to be playing St. Louis against St. Louis in the first game. I mean, I think it's a great game for us.
Yeah.
Frerotte continues at quarterback. He's got Brooks and McGriff split left. And will throw. And hooks up with Robert Brooks for a first down, who fumbles the football now. But I think they're going to say he's down at the 23-yard line. That'll be a Denver first down. On the tackle is Jason Webster.
I wanted to let the play go before I followed that up. You like the way you match up against the Rams?
I know what it's like to be the Super Bowl champion opening the season, and I would have not wanted to open against us if I was St. Louis. I would have rather opened against somebody else in their own division that they knew they would have a good chance of beating.
Yeah.
First down at the San Francisco 22-yard line. Frerotte has trouble with the snap, turns and hands off. That's Mike Anderson, who thunders ahead for a gain of about 4. And again, Webster, along with Marcus Hill on the tackle. If you look at the schedule, I know coaches don't put too much stock in the schedule, but the schedule objectively is certainly going to be better than it was last year.
Oh, of course, but it's, and I'm like you, I think the schedule plays itself out. I mean, who knows where the strength of the teams are going to be in the second half, for instance, of the season.
Should take a look at the opponents for the Broncos. Gain of 4 by Anderson, 2nd and 6. Throughout with a play fake. Back in the end zone, wide open and overthrown is Byron Chamberlain. And Gus Frerotte had Chamberlain in the end zone for a touchdown and just couldn't get him the football.
Now, Gus obviously was not happy with himself after that. Chamberlain wide open. And, when you talked about Byron stepping up a week ago and really throwing himself right into the thick of things again at tight end, and he's played most of this game. And that's another touchdown if the throw's about a foot shorter.
3rd and 6. Pat, you got a call here?
The big yes.
That's what I do. Frerotte slant. McGriff with a fine catch. That'll be a Denver first down. And Travis McGriff on a pass thrown low reaches out, snags it, and Denver will have a 1st and goal.
That kid can play, Dave. He's going to be a good one.
Good hands.
It's amazing what Mike always talks about the second year for quarterbacks, for skilled positions, and how much it makes, what a difference it makes to come back into your second year, how much more comfortable. But Travis has really stepped up and claimed ownership, if you will, of that number 3 receiver spot from the beginning of camp.
17 receptions now in the preseason for McGriff. 1st and goal at the 9. Anderson. Mike Anderson gets thumped down at about the 6, and a hard hit. William Carr was there. Mike Anderson is a story, Pat, you have to like, in the Marines and never played high school football, played in the band. Here he is trying to make an NFL team.
And he's a player, too. I mean, he's really a nice kid. I like him. I'm very happy that we're going to have him on our football team.
2nd and goal now from the 5. Frerotte to Anderson again, who runs to an arm tackle. Anderson at the goal line, and that, I believe, although I see no signs, fellas, he's in the end zone. That is a Denver touchdown.
Well, back-to-back impressive drives for the Broncos, and Anderson capping that one off with a little help from his friends. Bowling his way down to about the 1, and then I think the committee took over and helped him get in.
Friedman with a nice block from his left guard spot, and Mike Anderson showing you the power. Pat, we appreciate you coming by.
Dave, it's always fun.
Good luck in the regular season. Feel free to walk down and tell Mike to keep running the football.
I yell at him from way up here, but he never hears me.
Elam's extra point try is up, and it is good. And with 10:29 to go in the 4th quarter at 3Com Park, the Broncos bounce back in front of the 49ers, 21-17. Back in San Francisco, 21-17, the Broncos with the lead. Cheerleaders don't know it, though.
And don't care. Nice drive, though. Back-to-back.
6 plays, 41 yards for the Broncos, so they've really picked things up, the second team offense here in the second half. Carter and Lewis back deep for San Francisco, and Jason Elam will kick it away. And this is Lewis at the 18. Trying to follow Carter, who takes him to the outside. Hit down to the back of 40. Chris Watson was there, so is George Coghill. The turf a little bit slippery here at 3Com Park, as it usually is. And the Niners start from their 40 when we return. Broncos 21-17 in San Francisco.
10:16 remaining at 3Com. The Broncos up by 4, 21-17. Reminder, Broncos tonight. Then, of course, on Mondays, we'll do the complete recap and look ahead to the season opener in St. Louis 1 week from Monday. The Broncos huddle with Mike Shanahan at Jackson's All-American Sports Grill down in the Tech Center. Bellevue and Yosemite. We kicked it off last week there as we moved south. Had a great crowd. A live, raucous crowd.
Yep. Niners 1st and 10 from their 40. As Rattay on the move. Pulls away and dumps the football. He pulled away from Antonio Edwards. Rattay incomplete, 2nd and 10. Tim Rattay, over 12,000 yards passing at Louisiana Tech. He is 2nd in NCAA history. 12,746 yards.
Oh, they like him a lot. They love his arm. The guy throws bullets.
Threw for over 100 touchdowns in his career. Only the 3rd player in NCAA history to accomplish that. He's trying to make the team a 7th round draft choice. 2nd and 10 from the 40. Bouncing outside with some pretty good speed is Jonas Lewis, a rookie running back out of San Diego State. Lewis earlier in the preseason, 13 carries for 46 yards against the Chargers. Coghill on the stop.
Jonas Lewis, he's kind of like a Garner in the sense he's not a big guy. He's only 5'9", but has quickness, you know, quick enough to turn the corner. I don't know if I put him in Garner's category just yet, but size-wise, they measure up.
Tom Rathman, the running backs coach for the 49ers, went to look at Jonas Lewis. Lewis said, hey, I'm not real fast and I'm not very big, but if you give me a chance, I'll give you 110%. So they signed him as a free agent. 1st and 10 at the 48. This is Lewis again. Running hard and almost breaking free. Steve Russ on the tackle for the Broncos.
All eyes again are going to be on Russ and Gizzy, and you know, go down the roster, and Andre Cooper, guys that wonder if they're going to be here, part of this team on Monday. There's Rathman, you mentioned him, and not a bad player in his day. Had a couple of rings.
Former Nebraska Cornhusker, great fullback in the NFL. Fred Lewis with 2, 2nd and 8. And Lewis again. And Chris Gizzy and Steve Russ again lead the way for the Broncos.
I thought it was interesting that Pat Bowlen here in the booth brought up the defense. He's a little concerned about the defense, not overly worried, but I think the same concerns that everybody else has and Mike Shanahan has expressed throughout the preseason. You know, can they come out and start strong and not be caught on their heels as they were early in the preseason? And even the Cowboys, who threw those long drives against them last week in the 1st quarter, can they get it together in time for 1 week for Monday? Because St. Louis has one of the most potent offenses in football.
3rd and 6 now from the 45 as Rattay changed the play. Pump fake, pressure. Rattay has the ball knocked free and gathers it in himself. Edwards was there, so is Monty Rager. And Jerry Johnson as well. Now, defensive linemen we've been talking about, the Broncos, I would think, probably will keep 9. And that means a couple of this group that you see in this play won't be here.
Yeah,
and they've had some. I mean, they've had some moments. And Tony Edwards certainly has had some moments.
Yeah, you get down to this point. I mean, at this point, the guys that survived the 65, a lot of these guys can't play. They just won't be playing for the Broncos. You get caught in that numbers game. We're going to see some names. I don't know how big the names are going to be on Monday.
Penalty flag, by the way, will give the 49ers a 1st down. It's not a fun weekend for those that aren't sure whether they've made it or not. Lewis again hit hard by Steve Russ. I tell you what, Steve Russ has had himself a very good football game tonight. Russ now in his 4th year. 6'2" and 245 pounds out of the Air Force. You can get an up-close and personal look right here. Great job of digging that fullback out of the way. And Ian Gold was there as well.
Yeah, he's had back-to-back good weeks. He was pretty solid against the Cowboys a week ago. And yeah, Mike Shanahan knows what he can do on special teams as well, which if he needs the edge, that's going to be his edge to make this club.
Carter left, Williams right. 2nd and 10 at the 40. Rattay throws the fade right side. Williams steps up and over Chris Watson, and San Francisco is back in the lead. Chris Watson step for step with Kevin Williams, and Williams at the last moment just reached over the top of Watson's helmet, speared the football, and walked into the end zone.
Well, Williams makes a nice play, but Rattay with a strike. That was a fabulous pass. That pass could not have been any better. Kevin Williams been around, as you know.
8th year out of Miami.
Former Cowboy. former Buffalo Bill.
Boy, if you're Chris Watson trying desperately to make a positive impact and impression tonight, that's the last thing in the world you want to have happen. Extra point try by Ritchie is up, and it is good, and the lead changes hands once again. Mike Shanahan will see his club trailing by 3 with 7:07 to go. Niners 24-21. And you take a look at Tim Rattay and the fine catch by Kevin Williams.
Nice catch, great pass. Williams is so quick. I mean, Watson can run with him, but Williams so athletic, goes up and over. And do read into the fact that Rattay's getting the reps in this game, and not Carmazzi. They really like this guy. I don't know if they like the sideburns, but they really like him. Looks good on him, though.
The guy threw for 12,000 plus yards in college. That is an amazing feat. Here comes Delta O'Neal. Spun around and downed at about the 27-yard line. Jonas Lewis there for the 49ers. Delta O'Neal, I think Bronco fans will really like in the regular season. Keep in mind, this is a kid that has played 4 preseason games in the National Football League. But he's got special talent, you can tell. Well, we'll see what Denver can do. 1st and 10 now at their 28-yard line. And Jarius Jackson in the game. And back to throw. The ball a little bit too low for Chris Cole to scoop up. Incomplete. There's some interesting battles going on. Jackson, of course, for the 3rd quarterback spot. Will the Broncos keep him or waive him and try to bring him back? Chris Cole for maybe the 6th and final receiving spot, battling Andre Cooper.
Well, and the factors that go into this, there's been speculation that the Broncos will go with 2 quarterbacks because they want that other position to maybe keep an extra linebacker or an extra DB. As far as Chris Cole, I don't know. If you try to put him in the practice squad, someone claims him. He's got so much potential because of his speed.
Jackson on the draw to Anderson, and here comes the big back out of Utah. Mike Anderson should have enough for the 1st down, just shy of the 40-yard line, collared there by Jason Webster and also Marcus Hill. But it gives you an idea how fast Mike Anderson is for 235-pound running back.
He's just so versatile. You know, the more I see this guy, the more I like him. And interesting to hear Pat say, you know, it's great to have him as a member of the football team, that he will be a member, because, you know, you listen to Mike Shanahan, nothing is sealed yet, but maybe it is with the release of Avery.
1st and 10 at the 39. Anderson in the cutback runs right into the backside of Lenny Freeman. And you wonder why offensive linemen are always beat up. Cedric Killian's on the tackle.
You know, as you start talking about practice squads, and there's just so much gambling involved. And can you take a Jarius Jackson and release him, assuming no one claims him? Whereas that might be a better gamble than trying to do that with Chris Cole, who they feel someone would probably grab right away.
No question. Everybody moved and the ball didn't. That's not good. That'll cost the Broncos 5 yards. Yeah, Jackson figures to clear waivers.
False start, 79, offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
They call Chris Banks, but they could have called a number of players. Jackson would figure, one would think, to clear waivers if the Broncos decide to go that way, and they could re-sign it. Chris Banks battling for a spot in that offensive line. You would think the Broncos probably will keep 9 offensive linemen. They have in the past. 2nd and 13. And the former Notre Dame quarterback to throw. Left side, and that is caught, but out of bounds. Andre Cooper had a step on Anthony Parker, gathered it in, but could not get both feet in bounds.
Does Jarius Jackson have a sweet arm? You can see why they like him. I mean, there's no way to project at what point he could play quarterback in this league. They just love his athleticism. And that was the right call.
You see Cooper trying to drag that left foot, but he should have been trying to drag the other one. That's tough sometimes. Receiver always has to know where he is in the playing field, and at times which foot to drag before you get out of bounds. I think Denver's going to challenge the ruling here. You can see it is a bit windy and a bit nippy here in San Francisco. The Bronco players and Mike Shanahan all wearing jackets.
The reaction of some of his players, you saw Greasy laughing in the background. With 5:19 left in your 4th and final preseason game. And Mike Shanahan is treating this as though it's the first quarter of the first preseason game or regular season game, and he's challenging a call.
So Bill Carollo, who looks like he's trying to figure out how that contraption works. Now, do I push this? Yeah, okay.
Took me a while to get it, too. You hit the one that says play.
Well, that was a quick look. Somebody just got on the headset and told him which way to go here.
By the field due to inoperable equipment.
What a way to wrap up the preseason. So there you have it.
Mike's reaction.
Mike said, this is the National Football League. What do you mean the equipment doesn't work?
I think we can get him the 9 News tape if he needs it. You know, if he was up here in the booth with us, this is what he would have seen.
That is so fitting.
I think we're going to take a look at it.
Take a look at it. Left foot.
Yeah.
I don't know that he had the catch before. And I don't know if the fellows in the truck, we could see that again. And maybe we just allowed Bill Carollo to see it.
We'll give him the tape. There's no problem.
It looks like he's going to be able to view it this time. I think that's the first. That's the first time I've heard since instant replays become part of the NFL. We can't figure it out because of inoperable equipment. What in the world do they think we could possibly see?
What we're seeing here?
Take a look at it. There's a right foot down when he catches the ball. This is a great angle. Left foot there, right foot in the air, right foot out of bounds.
He's out of bounds. He is out of bounds.
After reviewing the play stands is called. Incomplete pass. The second foot hit the line. Denver is charged with the timeout, their first one.
Well, Mike still didn't like it, but that's the way it is. The Broncos will lose a timeout. They now have 2 remaining, 3rd and 13. So we get set to get back to action here. Or at least get back to the clock moving. The ball at the Denver 36-yard line. Cole to the left side. Reed and Cooper right. Jackson. Deep ball for Chris Cole, who makes the adjustment and the catch. Chris Cole is going to have a first down inside the San Francisco 25-yard line. He beat Kelly Herndon, a first-year cornerback out of Toledo, on the play.
And this is why they look at a guy like Cole and they say, we got to find a spot for this kid. He's so fast. You know, they're teaching him so many different things about how to catch a football, how to run the routes, all the things he didn't learn at A&M.
Tell you what, that's a nice adjustment on an underthrown ball. And Chris Cole, I think, is going to be on the roster for the Broncos this year. Handoff, right side, Anderson. Squeeze it out, maybe a couple. Cedric Killings out of Carson Newman on the stop. Yeah, Chris Cole has been a guy that has been up and down this year in camp. I guess the biggest negative, he was late to one of the meetings and cost the Broncos players and coaches
those extra 3 days of camp, or
3 days of camp.
They had to go back, but you know,
he wasn't popular at that time.
You got to know your Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey, McGriff, Brooks, Reed is 5,
and either Cole or Cooper at 6. We think they'll keep 6. Second down and 9. Jackson running away from pressure. Jerry's lunging out of bounds at about the 15. In hot pursuit was Edward Thomas. But Jarius Jackson showing his mobility and athletic ability, and close enough to measure for the first down.
And again, he may be one of these guys that doesn't survive the weekend, but finds himself back on the team, on the practice squad, if they choose to go with 2. He's so athletic. He's bigger than you think he is, but he's still fast, and he's got that great arm.
Jackson at about 230 pounds. The only player drafted this year out of Notre Dame.
Which is, I guess, an indication of how far the mighty have fallen.
Jerry's got the first down. So 1st and 10 from the Niner 15-yard line. 3:51 to go, and Denver trying to finish the 2000 preseason with a perfect record. Smith and Anderson behind Jackson. Play fake. Wide open. This is Byron Chamberlain. Chamberlain collared and flung out of bounds, but that should be enough for another Bronco first down. Marcus Hill on the tackle. Byron Chamberlain, who last week had a touchdown catch against the Broncos, finishing his preseason strong.
Yeah, very strong. The last 2 weeks have been by far the best 2 weeks of the preseason. For Byron Chamberlain, you know, he was hampered early in camp with the calf problem that slowed him down, and it just seemed to set him back in terms of the battle for the tight end spot. Now he's back, and I think that makes a lot of people happy. There were rumors of a trade to New Orleans that was never really in the works.
1st and goal at the 4. Anderson spun around and backing his way to about the 2. And again, Cedric Killings along with John Millam on the tackle. Told you about Anderson earlier in the preseason. 257 yards rushing against Fresno State in his last appearance as a Utah Ute.
Would have been the Las Vegas Bowl, I believe.
Yep.
And really, for those who were, the people that weren't watching that conference, put him on the map, so to speak. 6th round pick.
Jarius Jackson talking to Bill Carollo about the snap clock. And calls a timeout.
Timeout.
The league intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Denver, watch this again, we would worry very much about you.
Support for that.
2nd and goal at the 2. Clark in motion. Anderson running hard. He's going to be inside the 1. He was hit by Edward Thomas. And frankly, I think the Broncos are kind of pleased, but certainly will take the fact that the clock continues to run, and so far the Niners have just not been able to stop Mike Anderson. So you squeeze some time off that clock, and from their perspective, knock it in and take the lead. Less time for the 49ers on the other end. 3rd and goal. Anderson walks into the end zone upright, and that is a Denver touchdown.
Well, a 2nd straight touchdown, 2nd drive in a row that Mike Anderson has capped off. And I think it's a pretty safe bet that Mike Anderson will be on the 53-man roster.
No question.
As of Monday.
Anderson has 2 rushing touchdowns in the preseason, both here tonight in San Francisco. So Trey Teague will snap. Tom Ruin will spot it. And Jason Elam knocks it through. And with 2:13 to go in the football game, the Broncos, in a seesaw battle, now have a 28-24 lead.
But they lead the Chargers, who were previously unbeaten in the preseason.
Short kick, and this will be Carter at the 10. Leaps into the air and out over the 25-yard line. Chris Cole, Hillary Butler, and Chris Gizzi for the Broncos.
Also on Sunday night, excuse me, we're kicking off our Sonny Lubick each and every week on 9 News.
I will stay up for that. Rattay one shot before the 2-minute mark. Slides away from pressure and then dumps the football on the ground as Johnson for the Broncos is there. Jerry Johnson, another interesting candidate to make the roster. The rookie out of Florida State, a 4th-round draft choice. We've come to the 2-minute warning as San Francisco Broncos lead the 49ers 28-24. Been kind of an interesting second half here. Broncos lead the 49ers 28-24. Looking to go undefeated in preseason play. San Francisco's only won once, and that was in Kansas City. Tim Rattay, who's 1 of 5 for 39 yards, but the one completion, a big touchdown throw to Kevin Williams. 2nd and 10 for the 27. Rattay facing pressure, and down he goes. Rattay got crushed by Larry Fitzpatrick, and the ball bounced free, and I think Denver's got possession. Yes, they do. Boy, Larry Fitzpatrick leveled Tim Rattay in the pocket.
Yeah, Rattay just blindsided here. And Fitzpatrick, sweet play, nice spin move to get in there and just crush him.
Well, that's how you lose your quarterback. And he beat Matt Willig, a 9th-year player out of USC, with a nice spin move.
Yeah, that was a sweet move, and I think it took a second for the Broncos to realize the ball was on the ground. I know Fitzpatrick was still spinning, celebrating, while the ball was down.
So Denver now could kneel down. 49ers with 3 timeouts, should they decide to use them.
Just a reminder, we'll continue our 9 News coverage from the Broncos locker room immediately after the game. In fact, I'm heading down there now as they wrap up the final minute 49. So we'll see in just a bit from another jubilant Bronco room.
In the meantime, Bill Carroll, the referee, on a Jackson with the snap and the knee, and the clock will run. So the roster that you know about on Sunday, we figure to include 9 offensive linemen. No surprises there. The starters: Jones, Schlereth, Nalen, Nealon, Lepsis. Lenny Friedman will make the team, obviously. Trey Teague is the snapper. But some other positions wide open. You expect Cooper Carlisle to make this team, the rookie out of Florida. 9 defensive linemen. Really not a lot of surprises there as well. Panavasa, Traylor, Rager, Pittman, Hasselback, Price, Archambault, Mike Lodish, and 1 spot for Jerry Johnson, Antonio Edwards. Maybe. Four safeties, you would think: Jenkins and Brown, Kanoe Kennedy and George Coghill. Some people think 5 defensive backs. I would think 6. Spencer, Buckley, O'Neal, Crockett, Pounds, and I think Chris Watson, even though he had a touchdown pass good up tonight, stands an excellent chance to make the team. 20 seconds to go. The coach is on their way to midfield, and the Broncos have defeated the San Francisco 49ers 28-24. We're told now that we'll not be talking with Mike Shanahan, so we'll come back and wrap things up in 3Com Park when we return. Broncos a 4-point winner over the 49ers, 28-24. So as the fans empty out at 3Com Park, final score: Broncos beat the 49ers 28-24. And that will do it for our coverage in the preseason. We thank you very much for joining us and invite you to continue staying tuned to 9 News with Jim and Adele. That will be next. For Tony Zarella, I'm Dave Logan. 28-24, the Broncos the winner. Good night from 3Com in San Francisco.
Integrity. icy cool breath that lasts.
Turkey and white, extra Hellmann's.
I bet the average luncher takes under 6 minutes.